Majora's Mask is a weird game, like a really weird game, and has had a lot of weird glitches discovered since its release. There have been glitches found that allow you to escape the 3-day cycle with 0th and 4th day, a way to warp to the mayor's residence by entering a grotto, a way to warp to the final boss of the game by picking up an invisible bush, and much, much more. A lot of these glitches are pretty useful in the speedrun context, and a lot of these haven't found a spot in the speedrun quite yet. The glitch we're talking about today, though, is somewhere in between. A glitch with a lot of potential, and could one day even lead to a new way to warp to the moon, Bottle Adventure. If you're at all familiar with Ocarina of Time speedrunning, you've likely heard of Bottle Adventure before. However, this is an entirely different glitch. The Zelda community just kind of sucks at naming things. In Majora's Mask, they added a new mechanic that was not in Ocarina of Time, hot spring water. A type of water you can catch in a bottle and use to melt ice. After a few minutes, this hot spring water will cool, and will turn back into regular spring water. At the surface, this seems like a relatively unexploitable mechanic. The game just sets a timer and cools the water, although I wouldn't be making this video if it wasn't exploitable, so let's break down this mechanic. Majora's Mask has 6 accessible bottles in the game, each of which can individually be used to store bottle contents, such as hot spring water. To allow multiple hot spring water bottles to cool at different times, the game writes a 64-bit number as a timestamp of the global timer to a location in memory based on the bottle's inventory slot location. Now, if we could find some way to get hot spring water into a slot that is not a bottle, the timer's timestamp will get written to an abnormal place in memory. As you can probably guess, this is possible, and can be done by using a glitch known as bottle duplication. In selling bottle contents to the Curiosity Shop, you can pause before the sell sequence completes, allowing you to switch another item over the bottle contents you're selling, duping a bottle over that item. Catching hot spring water in this bottle will write the 64-bit hot spring water timer value and some offset related to the slot that the hot spring water is in. This can have multiple interesting effects in the game, and even changes depending on whether you perform the glitch on the Japanese or English version of the game. But before we talk about the effects caused by Bottle Adventure, it's important that we discuss how this timer actually works. Whenever you boot up Majora's Mask, the game has a global timer that functions like a stopwatch, and ticks up at the speed of the Nintendo 64's CPU clock cycle. This means that the lower bytes of the timer tick up very, very fast, so fast that they change multiple times per frame, while the higher bytes take a much longer time to tick. Let's break this down a little bit. The last 3 bytes of the timer are the fast ones, and change to seemingly random numbers due to how fast they're going up. The 5th byte of the timer here goes up around 3 times per second. The 4th byte goes up once around every 90 seconds. The 3rd byte goes up once every 6.5 hours. The 2nd byte goes up once every 67 days. And the 1st byte goes up once every 47 years. That means in order for this timer to completely max out and wrap around to 0, you would have to keep your game running for 12,113 years. To put this into perspective, if you were a caveman in the Neolithic Revolution with your copy of Majora's Mask, that timer would still not max out for another 2,000 years. This will come into play later though, so let's go ahead and talk about what Bottle Adventure actually does. On the English release of Majora's Mask, duping a bottle and catching hot spring water over most items writes to a couple strange locations in memory, such as the Scarecrow song, the lottery numbers, Epona's coordinates, as well as the pictograph stored picture. On the Japanese release of Majora's Mask, most items write to other useless locations in memory, such as the Jinx timer that disables your sword, the minigame timer position, and other hot spring water timers. These are just the least interesting effects attainable with Bottle Adventure though, so let's talk about some of the more interesting uses. On the English version, if you perform Bottle Adventure using the powder keg, you write over the rock sirloin flag, meaning that the next time you go through a loading zone, you will be carrying the rock sirloin. This is the only Bottle Adventure currently used in a main leaderboard speedrun, where in the 100% speedrun with SRM, we entirely skip carrying the rock sirloin from Goron Village. On the Japanese version, performing Bottle Adventure with a handful of masks can refill your hearts or refill your magic. However, the most potentially useful application of Bottle Adventure exists in both the Japanese and the English versions of the game. Performing Bottle Adventure on the English version of the game with the Ice Arrow, Light Arrow, Moon's Tear, Bomb, Bomb Chew, Deku Stick, Deku Nut, Magic Bean, Room Key, Hookshot, and Great Fairy Sword, or the Great Fairy's Mask, Deku Mask, Mask of Sense, Goron Mask, Mask of Truth, Zora's Mask, Giant's Mask, and the Fierce Deity Mask on the Japanese version will write to the Event Inf table, a list of scene flags used to keep track of the progress of minigames and other day events. Let's take a look at some of the effects Bottle Adventure has with these items. By performing Bottle Adventure with the hookshot on the English version, it is actually possible to entirely skip doing the Goron race. This isn't the only application, however, as English hookshot Bottle Adventure also affects the doggy racetrack minigame, meaning that you can finally get the poor blue dog to win the race, even if it is by technicality. Performing Bottle Adventure with the Giant's Mask on the Japanese version, or with ice arrows on the English version, writes to the boat archery minigame in Southern Swamp. By catching hot spring water in this slot, the boat archery minigame will already be in progress in the Southern Swamp without having to start the minigame. This also has a side effect of giving you infinite arrows, although only in the Southern Swamp location. Japanese Giant's Mask Bottle Adventure has another interesting side effect, where you can get Grandma's All Nights Mask harp piece without listening to her stories. Japanese Giant's Mask BA also writes to the Ghost Hut minigame, which allows you to skip this minigame. This is also possible in the English version using Great Fairy Sword Bottle Adventure. However, it relies on the slowest bite of the hot spring water we talked about earlier, meaning it will take over 3,000 years to skip the Ghost Hut minigame on the English version of the game. One potentially very useful application of Bottle Adventure lies within the Camaro's Mask on the Japanese version. Performing Bottle Adventure with this mask writes to the Temp B location of memory, which can be used to put any item on a transformation's B button, allowing for other glitches such as Goron Missile. However, Camaro Mask Bottle Adventure also unfortunately writes over the language byte in memory, which corrupts the text and causes a softlock or even a crash. To this day, there are no known ways to avoid this softlock, but doing so could potentially have a huge impact on the Majora's Mask speedrun. As I stated in the introduction to this video, Bottle Adventure has the potential to moonwarp, but how? On the Japanese version, the Bremen Mask, Circus Leader's Mask, and Gibdo Mask can write to the cutscene setter bytes, which in turn can write to the entrance mod value, which when set to 65525 can be used to warp to the moon by exiting a Termina Field grotto. In the case of Circus Leaders and Gibdo Mask Bottle Adventure, however, this gets set to 6000, which does not do anything useful. Bremen's Mask, however, could potentially set this to the correct value. Unfortunately though, it relies on the fourth row of bytes, which only updates for hot spring water placed in a real bottle and not in a duped one. So, if there was a way found for this fourth row to be updated in a duped bottle, we could warp to the moon using Bottle Adventure. There's a ton of other effects of Bottle Adventure that I didn't cover here, so I'd really recommend checking out videos from Keeta and Exodus, who have a couple videos of various other applications of Bottle Adventure. They're also the main force behind the information for this video and all around great glitch hunters for Majora's Mask, so I'd highly recommend checking them out. But that's Bottle Adventure, one of Majora's Mask's coolest glitches, and also one of its least explored. Hopefully in the future, some of the roadblocks preventing their most useful applications are discovered. But until then, this has been Jake, and thanks for watching this video. If you like this video or enjoy videos on Zelda glitches and speedruns, click on one of the videos on screen now, and, subscribe.